everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'm going to look at some books that I picked up at Second and Charles. I found a whole bunch of old Dark Horse Studio Proteus books. Most of the series that I found were incomplete. Some of them are longer, and I'm not going to look at those. But this and a couple other ones were missing, just like one issue per series, which was kind of frustrating. But I grabbed them because the art looked really cool, and I wanted to check them out. Or there's things that I had heard about. I'd never heard about this one, Kenji Tsuruta's Spirit of Wonder. The art looked really amazing in it, though, so I grabbed it, and you can see, why I was drawn to it right away. Just a lot of really, really cool drawing going on in it. It's a 5-issue miniseries. I don't know how this came out in Japan, that it was translated into just a 5-issue miniseries. It seems like it must go on further because they're kind of these short little episodic moments about this Dr. Breckenridge, who's this guy who's like, he messes with lenses and somehow makes a matter transporter, I think. I don't know. He's a mad scientist, basically. I didn't quite understand the story in this series, to be honest. And then there's Miss China, who's like his landlady. He's renting from her. And then his assistant Jim, who has a flirtation with Miss China. It's kind of funny to read this because like this book would never fly now. I don't know if it's just like a translation thing or if it's in the Japanese as well. But there's like really like Miss China is really stereotypically Chinese in the way that she speaks. Like she says Mr. Breckenridge instead of Breckenridge. Like I almost want to say Breckenridge every time as well. I no want fight in my place. You stop now. It's just got that, like, you can hear the translator like doing that voice in his head. So that's interesting. But I'm just curious, like, is that how it's written in Japanese too? Like, is there some it obviously couldn't be a literal translation, but was there some kind of like Japanese understanding of like a Chinese person speaking Japanese poorly that then got translated into a Chinese person speaking Chinese poorly? I don't know. That was interesting to me. But I mean, obviously, like Jim and Miss China kind of have a thing going on. But I didn't quite understand the story. They get to this point where they write "Happy Birthday" on the moon. And then that's like the guy proving that his matter transporter lenses work. And then in one of these issues, you can see the moon's like on every cover, so that's a big deal in the story. And they eventually like prove to Miss China how this works, like this big lens that she has, and it has something to do with like just as you refocus a lens, things will get smaller and bigger. So that allows her to like transport her matter and be bigger and then sit on top of the moon. Like literally, not just in the lenses. I don't know. The story in this is very strange. But she goes up there and writes on the moon as well. And then I have issue 3, just more of the same cool art, more of the just, I don't really know what was going on with the story. And then I don't have issue 4, so I get especially lost. But I mean, here we have just some really cool imagery of like this comet. That's something that they put into action. But again, I was having a pretty hard time following the story. I don't know if that was a translation issue, if it's just a weird story. And then I don't know what happened in issue 4, but it seems like Miss China is worried that Jim is falling in love with some other woman, even though I think he's proposed to her at this point. I don't know. Awesome drawing, though, with that curvilinear perspective. And then this issue, like the Breckenridge guy, I think is teleporting himself with his little... They're talking about teleporting, and he's using his device, and he's teleporting, like having his face show up in places where it shouldn't be. These diagrams, I guess, kind of explain what's going on, but I had a hard time understanding it. And then there's this whole sequence where Miss China is taking a shower, and then it seems like Breckenridge is spying on her, trying to get a peek at her naughty bits. but then she gets like, oh, I see what happens here. She falls in the floor and Jim wakes up, and it's not very clear here until later, but he writes "I love you" on her panties, and she feels something touching her butt and is freaking out. I thought he'd teleported to do that. I don't know. I just kind of get lost in all of it. But yeah, he's like writing on her undies, "I love you," which to me is a very strange thing to be doing. And then somehow that all winds up where this like bin that she washes her clothes in is like a lens that Dr. Breckenridge is using to put her image up for everyone in the public to watch, and they're all like into Miss China now, and she's like washing her panties and realize that Jim wrote "I love you." I don't know, man. It is a strange story, but the art's awesome. So if you find copies of this, and you're into just having things for the art, definitely pick this up just for the art. I'm gonna look up and see, if there's anything else by this artist Kenji Tsuruta. But I'm a little skeptical. If you really want a story, look at that Pamela Anderson barbed wire, Jesus. If you want a story, like, I don't know, maybe these will make more sense to you, but they didn't make much sense to me.
One of the best ways that you can support what we're doing here on the channel is to support the books that Sean's putting out through Living the Line. The first book that he put out is The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. It's a collaboration between Dave Sim and myself. The book was recently nominated for an Eisner Award in the Best Reality-Based category. It's a deep dive into the artwork and methods of Alex Raymond and the mystery surrounding his death in a car crash. So if you haven't grabbed that already, please do. There's also Yokoyama Yuichi's Plaza, which is a totally intense manga by an artist who has somehow figured out how to distill manga down to its purest essence. This book was successfully funded on Kickstarter, but if you missed the Kickstarter, you can order it through any comic store, any bookstore, Amazon, any place that you would normally get your graphic novels from. The Abolition of Man is a 5-issue mini-series done by myself and Sean in collaboration with the Midjourney AI. What you're seeing here is the cover to issue 1 and the first couple pages of issue 1. This first issue, we fed it an essay by C.S. Lewis, and this is just the imagery that the computer spat back at us. Issues 2 and 3 are a narrative, starting with the story that I wrote when I was 21, and then Sean's going to write issue 3, picking up where I left off. In this one, I'm kind of trying to force the AI to give me the images I want, and then doing some tweaking in Photoshop to get these kind of colored looks on it. For issue 4, we're turning the task of writing over to the AI as well. So the AI has written the script, and then we've just put that into the Midjourney AI, and it's turned out art. The script and the art is some of the absolutely most horrific stuff I've ever seen. We're a bit scared to even publish this issue. And I don't have any art to show for it yet, but Sean and I have decided to do a 5th issue of Abolition as well, because we have someone who we're really excited to have on board, providing an essay for that 5th issue that will illustrate, and we'll announce more about that soon.
Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.